Okay, it is advanced search time. We're going to add it, and I'm adding this because, like I keep saying, I want this to not be a contrived data table example. I want this to be the gnarliest data table that we can come up with. And so part of that is having some advanced searching functionality, which isn't actually going to be as hard as at least I thought it would be. Okay, so we're going to need a link here called advanced search. So when we click, we open up this new little thing for advanced search. So let's do that. Also, I'm making the code full screen now. And we'll just switch back and forth with the browser because I think this is better. I think we were a little constrained before. So let's see. We need ourselves a link. Where do we need it? So here's our search input. We need it right next to our search input. So let's create one. It's going to be xbutton.link, and this is going to say advanced search. Okay. And that's on the next line. We don't want it on the next line. So we'll use Flexbox to put it on the same line. We got some other stuff going on now. Let's make this half. Okay. And let's give it some space. So what are we going to do? We're going to do space X 4. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. This is our advanced search button. Search got a little bit smaller to constrain to what's in the placeholder, which I'm fine with. If you're not, you can set, whatever your minimum width you want. So when we click advanced search, we want to toggle a nice advanced search field. So we could use Alpine for this because it is just a toggle, but I actually chose to go with Livewire to do the toggling because I'd rather not have all the HTML for the advanced search sent back and forth on every request in this component. So it's like kind of a trade-off where now our requests will have less of a payload until we toggle this on. I'll show you what I mean in a sec. So, all right, so we have advanced search. Let's do wire click, and then we're gonna toggle a field or toggle a piece of data called show filters. Now a couple notes here. Let's add this public show filters. Show filters. Okay, so there's a magic toggle if you haven't seen that. Like we could create a method called show the filters or something, and then we would have to, toggle this and that whole method. And that's a lot. You've probably seen $set before, so we could actually do this, show filters to true. But I also want to use this to hide it. So toggle is a nice little helper that's been in Livewire forever that just toggles a Boolean on and off, which is kind of nice. Okay, so that's that. And why don't we actually add conditionally, we'll add a hide here. So we'll say if show filters, so if it's being shown, then show a hide message. And what did I do? What did I do wrong? End if. You saw that? You saw that. Okay. Show search, hide advanced search. Hide advanced search, hide advanced search. Perfect. And then now we're going to want to, like if we take a look, this is that whole top. Yeah, this is the whole top chunk right here, this whole top line here, and then that's the whole table. So we want the advanced search to be in between. So we're going to add a new div here, and this is where we're going to put advanced search. So here's a note. Here's a general Livewire tip. You might be tempted to do something like this. If show filters, and you have your div, and you have your filters here. Okay. And then end if. And now if we hit advanced search, that works, and we hide it and it works. So there's really no issue there, but I do want to just at least give you a little bit of an insight into how my brain works and how I think of stuff like this. The nature of Livewire is to, when we show this, it's sending a network request and it's coming back with a new set of HTML, in effects HTML. It's coming back with all the new HTML, and it's using a tool called MorphDOM to intelligently walk through the DOM nodes and discover what's new and what's changed and change the current DOM. So most of the time you don't notice this happening, but occasionally weird things happen. And most of those weird things are really due to this one thing I'm about to show you. You can avoid most MorphDOM problems. And those are some of the worst problems in Livewire because they're really hard to debug. So this can avoid a ton of pain. So here it is. We have one div and a second div. And so this is false for the first render. So the HTML that goes to the server first is just this div next to this div. Then when you click show filters, you're adding a new div in the middle. MorphDOM actually has a difficult time dealing with that because it's kind of hard to describe, but MorphDOM will place the old HTML next to the new HTML and it'll step through. It'll go, are these the same? Yep. Are these the same? And it'll say, is this the same as this? No. So whatever. I tried to make MorphDOM as smart as I possibly could. I've hacked it for Livewire to try to be really good about this stuff, but I'm telling you this because I care about you. I would wrap this in a div. That's what I would do. Basically, don't conditionally show and hide divs within like siblings. You know what I mean? It's kind of, I'm having a hard time explaining it, but I think it's pretty straightforward. Where like now we have div, div, and div all next to each other, no matter whether or not this is toggled. So when this is toggled, it has its place. It's not being shoved in the middle of a bunch of siblings. So that's a really important lesson I wanted to note. Now let's add these filters. This one here, we're going to give it a background color of cool gray 200. Oh, you know what? Don't watch me do this. I already did this. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to make them sit through me building this entire filters thing. So I don't do this very often, but I'm going to copy and paste this chunk. Okay. I'm doing it. Now we have advanced search. Look at that. We have status, we have minimum amount, minimum date, and maximum date with some weirdness because we haven't implemented any of the data yet. So I'll give you a quick walkthrough. There's really not much here. I'll make everything small so you can see a little bit better. There is the left side, and that's this side. And all this has is another input group with the select, with the status dropdowns. And then we have an amount, money, min, and max. And then this is the right side that has the date minimum, the date maximum, and the reset filters button. And this is all just the HTML and CSS and the blade components, whatever. There's no Livewire here. There's no wire models added. I'm saving all that for this lesson, but I didn't want to force you to watch me write all of this by hand because I just did it in like a rehearsal thing, and it's just long and annoying, and we might as well just sit in silence while you watch me build out this little chunk. Okay, advanced search, hide advanced search. I'm feeling good about this. Again, I'm toggling this with Livewire because, well, it's hidden. Whenever you do anything else on the page, the payload that comes back isn't going to include that HTML. It's not going to include all this HTML. Where if we hid this with Alpine, it would always include this HTML. So that's just kind of my internal processing. If you need it to feel instant, so this feels instant because I'm in local development on a fast computer. So look at this request time is 24 milliseconds. That's not real life. On a server with latency and a database with lots of, items inside of it, it's likely going to be a little bit slower, and you might even notice a little tiny lag. And if that is just if that's not good for you, if that doesn't work, then use Alpine to toggle it. That's 100% fine. Okay, so let's do some things. Let's bind some data. So now that we have this HTML, I think let's hop over to the data and just kind of work through what it's going to look like on the class end. I'm leaving both of these open because I think I don't know, because I'm doing it. So here's our public properties. We're going to want a new property called filters, public filters. And this is just going to be an array of all the filters. We have status, we have amount minimum, we have amount max, amount max, and we have, this is going to be date min and date max. Okay, so we have status, amount min, amount max, date min, date max. That should be fairly self-explanatory. The idea is this filter is going to filter on the status. This one is going to be the min. I'm literally repeating what each of the titles are. You can kind of figure it out, right? Okay, so let's do this here. These are going to be null to start off, except for status. I'm going to show you something that is worth noting that kind of bugs me. If we just set it to null, it's fine, but notice that the first entry is success, not the placeholder that we added, select status. So this is just one of those things. It's the same thing in Vue.js and Alpine. If you want to select drop down placeholders are notoriously annoying. You have to create an option, a first option that has your placeholder, that has a value of empty string and is disabled, and that's effectively a placeholder. But if you think about it, the value is null for status. And it's binding null to empty string, so it's not going to match up. So it's going to use the next available one, which is really dumb. So whatever. If we make this empty string, all our problems are going to go away, and we're going to have our placeholder. We should. Why didn't we? Did I not save it? What? Select status. Filter. Oh, I didn't wire model. What a silly goose. Wire model filters dot status. Refresh. And there we have select status. Perfect. Okay, that's great. So why don't we go ahead and wire model while we're doing all this other wire modeling. So here we're going to want wire, you know what, let's do it like, see if we can get a bunch of these in here. X input dot, oop, not that one. Okay. And then wire model filters dot, and then where do we get the name? We'll go to here, highlight to the end. Okay, I think that did it. And now we wire modeled all this up. If we refresh, now we get actual proper placeholder and everything. So we are good to go here from a data binding side and from the data right here. We're totally good. To doubly prove this to you, not that you needed me to, we can @JSON out filters and take a look at that as we change it. So here's, well, I guess I did that in the wrong spot. If we select status, there we go, it updates. If we do 400, it updates. If we do 500. Okay, so notice something. As we're typing in, it's updating. And we don't necessarily want that because that's just too many requests. So we should make these .lazy, these amounts. So let's do this, .lazy. And now if we type in 400, nothing updates until we hit tab and then it updates. And I'm happy with that. So that's pretty good. We should add a reset filter so that we can hit reset filters and change everything back. That's going to be pretty easy. So where should we do this? Let's go all the way down to the bottom. Let's create a reset filters method. And inside here, we want to set filters back to its original form, which is, you know, status, whatever. But fortunately, because I really hate that pattern, I added a method in Livewire called reset, and we can just do this. Reset filters. And it's just going to change the filters property back to what it was originally. So let's refresh, advanced search, and let's type something in, 400 and 500, and notice these values are actually, you know, valid values in Livewire. We hit reset filters, and nothing happens because we didn't actually wire it up. We are silly geese, sorry. Wire, click, reset, filters. Okay, advanced search, 400, 500, a date, we hit reset filters, and now everything resets. How nice is that? We can hide, we can show. I'm feeling really good about this. This is like Livewire 101, actions, data binding. There's really nothing fancy. Now let's implement this from the query side and see how we're doing here. So this is a pretty long line. This is actually much longer than I am comfortable with. So there comes a point in every Livewire component's life when you end up doing way too much inside of the render method and you want to break it out into a computed property or into a method or something. But I think we're at that point. So we have transaction search. So here would be my first line of defense. First, I would put these on their own line. And, you know, this isn't too bad. One thing that bugs me is there's no arrow here. So you can chain on query. And that's basically just like a dummy method that's like get the query builder. Story for another time if you're not familiar with Eloquent enough to know that, well, I'm going to guess you are because you're in this series, but whatever. Transaction query, then we can search, then we can order by and paginate. And this isn't too bad, honestly, but I think we're about to make it a lot worse. I don't know. You know what? Let's just Yagni it. Let's keep doing stuff right in here. Directly inside of this method, we are going to do all of these searching. So let's do that filtering. Basically, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Oh, okay. So what we want to do is conditionally apply where statements. So we can't just say where status. If we just did where status is this filters status, it's a no-go. Like maybe status would actually work, but something like amount min. Okay, where amount is less than amount min. Actually greater than. I get so confused with that stuff. And if we refresh, notice, okay, illegal operator and value, where amount is greater than, because is this null? Is that why? Wonder if we do a 0 here. Let me just make sure that we're, you know, yeah, okay. So basically what we want to do is wrap this in an if statement that's like, if filters is not null, you know, if filters amount or filter status is not null. But something we can do that's even better than that is the when statement. I wonder if, yeah, okay, whatever. The when statement accepts a Boolean, true or false, and then a callback where you can actually, it accepts the query builder, and then you can apply your where statement to the query builder like this. And now it's only going to apply the where if this when results to true or evaluates to true. This is a way to just kind of inline stuff and not need to break out back and forth with where statement. So let's go ahead and put this right here and delete this and this. And we'll do this, so query where amount, let's do it for status because that's the first one that we had before. So where status is this filter's status, right? And then instead of where true, we're going to say when this filter's status. So when, which basically we're doing an implicit like Boolean with PHP. We're basically doing this, like evaluate this as a Boolean. So if it's an empty string, which it is by default, it's going to skip this and pretend we didn't even put in that filter. But if there is a string, it's going to evaluate to true, and then it's going to apply this where statement and our queries will change. So let's try this. We have this filter status, refresh, and let's change this to success. And there we go. All the results are now success. If we change this to failed, all the results are now failed. Great. That's good, but we can actually clean this up even more. So here's one optimization we can make. Whatever the value is right here is passed into the callback as a second parameter. So instead of having this big line repeated twice, we can just kind of shortcut it and say status. And then here we can say status. And now we don't have to refresh. I always forget that. That still works. Okay, reset filters. Cool. We can even do better now with PHP's short closures. We could do FN, FN, and then arrow. Oops, FN arrow. And then there we go. Is that it? Did I miss something? What did I miss? We have where, query where status inside of an FN, right? What did I miss? Why is it? Oh, I have a semicolon. That's what it's yelling at me about. Okay, so we took something that was potentially like 3 lines minimum and turned it into 1 line, which I do like. So just make sure that works, and it does work. So now we can repeat this with amount and date. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do this. This is going to be amount min, and this is going to be amount max. And then this is going to be date min and date max. Okay, amount min, amount max. This one, we're going to want to name this amount. And same with the next one. And I'm sorry that you have to watch me type this. I wish I was good enough to actually like tell you a story with one part of my brain while the other part of my brain is actually doing the work. Kind of like I'm doing right now, except the story doesn't really have continuity. Okay, so we have amount min, amount max, date min, date max. So now instead of this where, we want to do where amount is greater than amount. So where amount min is greater than or equal to. And this one is going to be less than or equal to. And then this, I think, is going to be the same thing. Greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So the minimum date is equal to or less than the actual date. Okay. Equal to or greater than, equal to, I don't know, whatever. I guess we'll see it shake out in a second. I think this is right, but I always struggle with these little Boolean problems or these little, greater than, less than things, especially when it comes to dates. That's like it's a weak point of mine. And actually, I think we need to turn these into carbon instances. So let's do that. Carbon parse, because these are just strings. So let's carbon parse this bad boy here. Okay, are you ready for the moment of truth? Are you ready to see if this thing worked? Amount min, if we say $54, we should see that disappear. 54, and we hit tab. And it did not work. Amount min, I wonder. Well, let's look at the console, make sure there's no errors. All right, you're about to watch me debug something. Minimum amount, 54. And if we have, what do we got? Filters, amount, min, right? Query where, oh, okay. Whoopsie. It's just the amount field, not the amount min field. We're looking at a field in the database. Okay, so that's how we're living. Let's try this again. And I think I don't even need to refresh if I just erase that and re-add it. No. Okay, let me try one more time. Re-add it. There we go. Then it disappeared. Perfect. And then amount max, if we do 499, then all those 500s disappear. Date, if we do a minimum date of like September 1st, okay, yeah, there's only one there. Let's go back a few months. And then we have another one. Okay, and then maximum date of August 19th, that should disappear. Oop, we have a little error here because we added this, but we didn't add the call span to our no transactions found from the other thing. So let's search no transactions, and this call span needs to be 5 now. Okay, so where were we? I don't know. It works, right? Like maximum date, if we make our maximum date 6, not 7, but 6, it will disappear and we are all good. Okay. So I feel really good about this. I think that's good for advanced search. I don't know what else. Oh, there's one other little thing that we're going to do. So this is good and I feel good about this. I have nothing really to say. But here's something you might expect. So let's say that you filter something, like let's say minimum amount of maximum amount of 499. Okay. Now then you're like searching through these results and you go to page 2. And then you set minimum amount of 200. Okay, look what happened. It says no transactions found, which is actually not true. The reason it's saying that is because we're on page 2 in our pagination, which doesn't exist. So what we need to do is when we change any filters, we want to reset the page to page 1. And it's the same thing with search. This is actually, if we're searching and we say something like, does this even work? Why doesn't this work? Folks, we got to make searching work. We're passing search title, this arrow search, right? Did I do something wrong? This arrow search, and let's go back to mini mode. And then where's search here? Wire model search. That's totally it. I'm not exactly sure what is happening, friends. Let's go to app service provider and make sure that our search functionality is sound. So we're saying search field and string. If string exists, then return the query where field is like, and then string, otherwise just return this. Guys, I think this should work. I'm confused why it's not. Oh, because we're on page 2. Oh my gosh, we're on page 2. Friends, I'm such a silly goober. I'm a goofy goober, actually. So now if we do this kind of thing, yeah, okay. So we need to fix this. We need to reset page to 1 whenever we change search or filters. In fact, we could maybe even put search inside of filters. Is that crazy? Oh, wait a second. Should we do that? Ooh, we should. That's better. Sorry, we're doing this. We're shooting from the hip. Search starts out as empty string. Okay. And then search is going to be wire model filters.search. Okay. This is just going to kind of clean things up a little bit. And then down here, let's add a new when for search. Pull it in right there, and then query where title is like, and we're just going to do this manually because that's what we're doing, is like search. Okay. Then we can get rid of this, and I probably have one too many or too few. Okay. All right, so no search, and then search works. Great, I like that better. This is just kind of speaks to my philosophy that's really Sandy Metz's thing of make more things the same. Like just make more things look the same and be grouped the same. And that is just one of my guiding principles in programming. So I think this is better. I think we're doing well. Yeah. Okay, so whenever one of these filters changes, we want to reset the page. Now let's keep shooting from the hip because I think it'd be cool if we could do this. So if we say updated, and then we get the field, this is an updated hook, so this is going to run anytime a property is updated with wire model. And we get the field name passed in right here. So I'm curious to see what this field name is. If we do dd, oh, you know what? Oh, friends, we could just do this, I hope. What if we do updated filters? and then just do this arrow, reset page. Is that, let's go into with pagination and look at if there's a method for reset page. Yes, there is, reset page. Okay. Okay, ready? Ready, here we go. We're gonna go to page 2. Now we're gonna filter with an F. We've gone back to page 1. Ba-boom, that's pretty good, right? I think that's what we want. That's too easy. Oh, that's too easy, that's great. Here's something I'm gonna do that might make you angry. I'm gonna put these in one line because, let's see if is it too long? Yeah, because I don't know, it just feels like such a waste to have 3 lines, you know? Like, these are the lifecycle hooks. I'm cool with grouping them here. And you know what? You're gonna think I've gone off the rails, but I'm actually gonna do the same right here. And I'll tell you why. Because I actively avoid the rules method because it takes up 2 extra lines than just the protected property. I'm a little bit insane like that, but you know what? There are no rules in programming, and style is something that you develop for yourself as long as it's not completely disgusting. I'm cool with that kind of thing. I'm cool like that. So, all right, guys and girls, ladies and gents, this is what we're doing. This is where we're at. Let's make it mini so we can kind of get an overview. So we've added this giant yucky thing. We can easily extract this into a method, and we'll probably end up doing that. Create, edit, save. I feel like this is pretty clean. We have some lifecycle hooks. You might hate what I just did there. We have validation rules, and we have our public properties. So it's a beefer. This is a pretty beefy thing, but you know, that's what we set out to do. All right, so that's advanced searching. I'm gonna stop rambling. What are we gonna do in the next video? Let's do bulk actions. We're gonna do checkboxes and bulk actions, and that's gonna be another beefy video. This is just crazy town. I'll see you in the next video.